Okay, finally tonight, what is it about nostalgia that is so appealing? Whether it's vintage clothing, period furniture, or even time-worn technology, there is definitely a retro revolution going on. In fact, the period between the late 70s and early 90s is now being called the golden age of video games. Well, Jeff Birch has been exploring a new craze called retro computing.
In an age where smart devices are outsmarting the best of us, there seems to be a desire for machines that are just that little bit simpler. Now, I kept my original Game Boy, but companies are releasing retro versions of their original gadgets. It's all part of an enormous wave of tech nostalgia sweeping the market. So, from blocky graphics to the cassette tape, it seems modern computing has taken away some of the things we miss. So what's the attraction?
Part of it's nostalgia, of course, you know, yearning to go back to being that teenager.
Hello, mate, what have you bought?
I've just bought the original Xbox to relive some childhood memories.
So are you pleased with that?
Oh, I'm happy.
But I mean, some of these games are much older than you.
Some of them, yeah. I had a lot of influence from two older brothers when I was younger. That rubbed off on me a lot.
Andy Spencer began collecting computers and video games back in his 20s. When he got married, his collection outgrew his garage. With the help of friends and family, he built a retro computer museum in Leicester. And I've come to check it out. This place is amazing. It takes me back years. Just the sound of it. I have never seen one of those
Vectrex is amazing. It's one of the only vector-based game systems you can buy. So one thing we're really proud about is our software library.
Gosh, look at this lot. It's absolutely amazing. How many games have you got here?
We think we've got about 40,000 at the moment.
And have you still got any on cassette?
We've got lots on cassette.
There's thousands of games.
Yes.
You've got thousands of units.
Yes.
What's your favourite?
I would have to say the Sinclair Spectrum.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think without the Spectrum, my mum and dad bought me a Spectrum back in the day, and it made me want to be a programmer, and I actually write software for a living now. So the way I write my software now is based on what I learned back then. So that's why it's important to me.
You can forget your Macs, you can forget your PCs, because back in the 1980s, this was the one that everyone wanted. After the success of the Commodore 64, they brought out this, the Amiga. It brought home computing to everybody in the shape of word processing, music composition, programming, but most of all, it was brilliant at gaming. So is the gameplay good?
Yeah, it's really good. It's, the controls are quite easy as well.
It's 30 years old.
Is it?
Yeah. I think it's the 1990s this game came out, so...
Wow.
The gameplay is very good. The graphics are not as sophisticated as the modern games, are they?
No, but I think that's part of the charm for looking through the graphics and seeing what the game really is, about the gameplay, not about the graphics to me, so...
I mean, people say it took half an hour to load. No, it didn't. It took about between 5 and 10 minutes.
If it worked first time.
If it worked first time. But yeah, there's nightmare stories about it, but I don't find them that bad, to be fair.
While the museum in Leicester runs as a charity, there's money to be made in this, and a shop in Derby attracts classic collectors from across the Midlands. I'm here to meet Jane and Rob, who are massive retro game fans, and I've been told that Rob has owned just about every games console that has ever been made.
Call it 15 altogether.
Thank you.
Hello, Jane.
Hello.
Lovely to meet you. This is Lara Croft.
Yes.
She's a Derby girl.
Yeah, and so am I. We're both Derby girls.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I intend to make my fortune, right? So
right,
I've
okay.
been rooting about in my loft.
Yes.
And I found this.
Oh, that's a nice item.
This is mine. The kids are not allowed to play with this.
I can tell.
So would your customers be interested in buying that from you then?
We get asked for these a lot, so definitely. But this will probably go to a game collector because of the box. It's just extremely nice condition.
So what is the rarest item you've ever had?
It's a Sega Mega Drive game. We had it in about 10 years ago, and it's called Mega Man Wily Wars.
What?
Mega Man Wily Wars.
Oh, you have to say that carefully.
I know,
Good
I
Lord,
know.
that's probably why it's rare.
So yeah, it's Mega Man Wily Wars, and we sold it 10 years ago for £100.
Yeah.
It's currently worth over 400.
Golly.
We've only ever had one.
But also what catches me is a lot of it's very affordable.
Modern consoles are very expensive, the games are very expensive.
Oh, they are.
Retro stuff, it's just not, and I think that's part of the appeal.
I mean, it looks like this retro games business is really booming. But like all collectibles, the price goes up and it goes down. But in the case of these games, it seems to be mostly up. Last month, a Super Mario Brothers tester copy, or prototype if you like, sold to a collector for a massive $100,000. That's around 78 grand. Wow. So, Lizzie, you're a collector.
I am, yes.
So what is it about retro games as opposed to the new ones?
I don't know what it is. A lot of it, I think, is that I played them as a child, so I'm going back and collecting what I had when I was younger.
£40. Thanks a lot. I'll just get a receipt and go.
I do like the newer games, but the old ones just have more appeal.
There's games that you enjoy.
You're an adventures game guy.
Yeah, RPG, because I like turn-based combat and everything like that, so that's my sort of games.
I don't understand a word you're saying. Oh, yeah, New World, yeah. Right around the world, retro gamers are using the internet to share their passion for the past. And I've been in touch with a chap from the Midlands who created his own gaming channel and webcast from his garden shed. Oh, Barry, what an amazing place. Really nice to meet you. My goodness me. Every bloke has to have a shed. I mean, mine's full of motorbikes and spiders, but yours is amazing.
Thank you, yes.
I mean, all these machines. But this is also where you webcast from as well, isn't it?
It is. This is where we do the majority of the filming for our YouTube channel, where we take a look at these old games and computers and talk to people all over the world.
Now, I've seen about every sort of console there is, all over the place, but I have never seen one like that.
No, that's a bit of a rare beast, that is. That was Atari's last video game console, the old Atari, we should say. And it went on sale in 1993, and it was gone just as fast, along with Atari.
So it was a big giant monster flop.
It was really, yeah. It only sold about 250,000, and if you compare that to the PlayStation 2 that sold 155 million, it's expensive and it's rare.
I can see by your smile that you love them very, very much.
I started when gaming was in its infancy, and you look at that now and you think, this is simple and how can that hold your interest? But that's all we had back then when I was 7, 8 or 9 years old, so that it has very, very fond memories for me. Today's consoles, yes, they are incredibly powerful, they're amazing machines, but they don't hold my fascination as much as some of these older ones.
PCs and games consoles have been with us since the 70s. And in that time, technological revolutions have left generations with what appears to be computing junk. But as I've been discovering, there's now a culture of classic collectors and gamers who are making good use of this retro gear. So what was your favourite? Pac-Man or Pong? Tetris or Tomb Raider? Whichever it was, there's a whole world of vintage computer games out there for you to enjoy.
Well, I have to say, Pac-Man was definitely my favourite. And you know what? It's game over for us for this series. We will be back later in the year with plenty more stories from the East Midlands. But from Nottingham, for now, cheerio.